In a rundown neighborhood of the bustling city, the sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the cracked sidewalks. Amidst the noise of honking cars and distant chatter, a 10-year-old girl named Mia sat cross-legged on the ground, her knees smudged with dirt and chalk dust. With her small hands, she deftly maneuvered a piece of vibrant pink chalk, bringing to life a bouquet of flowers that danced joyfully against the gray concrete canvas. Each stroke was a burst of color, a defiance against the dullness of her surroundings, and a testament to her imagination. Mia's world was one of contrasts. The vibrant hues of her drawings stood in stark relief to the faded and crumbling buildings that loomed behind her. She took a moment to step back, admiring her handiwork. A kaleidoscope of whimsical creatures frolicking among the flowers, their smiles brightening the bleakness of the city. "Just a little more green here," she murmured to herself, adding leaves that seemed to sway in an invisible breeze. "Wow, that's incredible," a voice suddenly interjected, pulling Mia from her focused trance. She turned her head to see a man standing a few feet away, his sharp suit and polished shoes contrasting sharply with the ground beneath her. He looked to be in his late 30s, his expression one of genuine awe as he took in her artwork. Thank you," Mia replied shyly, brushing her hands on her shorts to rid them of chalk dust. She wasn't used to strangers complimenting her. Most people hurried past without a second glance. The man stepped closer, kneeling beside her to examine the drawings more closely. "You have a real talent, you know. It's beautiful," he said, his voice rich and warm. "What's your name?" she replied, awed, a flicker of pride igniting within her. "I draw every day. Jonathan," he introduced himself, offering a friendly smile. "Do you sell your art?" Mia shook her head vigorously, her curls bouncing around her face. "No, I just like to draw. It makes me happy." There was a pause as she looked at him, curiosity piquing. "Do you like art?" "I do very much," Jonathan replied, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "In fact, I'm an art dealer. I help people find and appreciate art, but I've never seen anything like this before." He gestured toward her colorful creations. "There's something special about your work." Mia blushed, her cheeks turning a soft shade of pink. "It's just chalk," she insisted, feeling a mix of bashfulness and pride. "It washes away when it rains." "Maybe so," Jonathan said, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "But what you create is more than just chalk on the ground. It's a glimpse of your imagination." He leaned a bit closer, inspecting a particular drawing with intricate patterns. "You have a knack for storytelling, don't you?" Mia bit her lip, a little unsure. "I guess," she said hesitantly. "I like to draw what I see in my head." As Jonathan studied one of the pieces more intently, he noticed something peculiar. A series of shapes and lines that seemed to connect, forming a vague pattern reminiscent of a map. His brow furrowed in concentration as he traced the shapes with his finger. "What's this?" he asked, pointing to a cluster of swirling lines. Maya glanced at the drawing, her heart racing slightly. "Oh, it's just a doodle," she replied evasively, trying to brush off the significance of it. She felt a twinge of nervousness. She didn't want to reveal too much. "Just a doodle?" Jonathan echoed, intrigued. "It looks like it could lead somewhere." His eyes sparkled with curiosity as he looked back at Mia. "Do you ever think about what your drawings might mean?" Mia shrugged, her gaze dropping to her hands, which were still smudged with chalk. "I don't really know. I just draw what feels right." "Well, I think there's something deeper here," Jonathan said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "I'd love to hear more about them. Maybe you could tell me their stories." Mia felt a flutter of uncertainty. She had never thought of her drawings as anything more than a way to escape her reality. Yet, as she met Jonathan's earnest gaze, she sensed a flicker of possibility. Perhaps there was more to her art than she had realized. "Maybe," she said slowly, contemplating the stranger's words, unaware that this moment would spark a connection that would change the course of both their lives. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm, golden glow over the neighborhood, Jonathan found himself walking towards the familiar sidewalk where Mia often drew. He had taken to visiting her regularly, bringing along fresh boxes of colorful chalks, each time introducing new hues that made her eyes sparkle with delight. Today, as he approached, he could see her sitting cross-legged, her fingers smudged with bright colors, meticulously creating a sprawling garden of chalk flowers, each petal more vibrant than the last. "Mia," he called out, his voice carrying a warmth that made her look up, a smile breaking across her face. "Jonathan," she exclaimed, her voice ringing with excitement. "Look, I made a whole new garden." Jonathan knelt beside her, admiring the intricate designs. "It's beautiful. You've outdone yourself this time." He picked up a piece of sky blue chalk, offering it to her. "Here's something new to add to your masterpiece." "Thanks." Mia took the chalk eagerly, her small fingers wrapping around the bright color. "Can you help me with the sky? I want it to look like it's glowing at sunset." As they worked together, Jonathan couldn't help but feel a strong connection to the girl beside him. He learned about her life, the struggles she faced daily, in a world that often overlooked those like her. Mia spoke of her mother's long hours at a diner, of the tiny apartment they shared, and how her dreams often felt like they were as distant as the stars above. "Mia, do you ever think about your drawings?" Jonathan asked, glancing sideways at her as she concentrated on blending the chalks. "What do they mean to you?" Mia paused, her brow furrowing in thought. "Sometimes I think they hold secrets, like a treasure map." She looked up at him, her eyes wide with sincerity. "I believe there's something in my drawings that tells a story about my family, like a mystery waiting to be solved." Intrigued, Jonathan leaned in closer. "A mystery? Tell me more. There's this old mansion on the edge of town." Mia began, her voice dropping to a whisper as if sharing a secret. "People say it's haunted, but I think it's just forgotten. I've been drawing it in my pictures. I think it might have something to do with my family." Jonathan's curiosity piqued. "What makes you think that?" "My mom used to tell me stories about it when I was little," she replied, her gaze drifting towards the distant skyline. "She said our family used to live there a long time ago before everything changed. I've always wanted to find out what happened." The weight of her words settled between them, and Jonathan felt a surge of responsibility. "Mia, would you want to investigate? We can go together. See if we can uncover the truth behind your drawings and the mansion." Mia's eyes lit up with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Really? You would help me?" "Of course," he assured her, a smile creeping across his face. "I want to help you find your story. We can turn it into an adventure." Mia nodded, her determination visible. "Let's do it. But what if it's scary? What if we find something we don't want to see?" Jonathan considered this, his heart aching at the thought of her fear. "We'll face it together, whatever it is. You're not alone in this anymore." The sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple as they packed up the chalks. The air was filled with an electric sense of possibility, a bond forged in shared dreams and the promise of discovery. As they walked side by side, Mia felt a newfound sense of hope. With Jonathan by her side, perhaps the secrets of her past would not just remain hidden in the chalk lines, but would come alive in the adventure that awaited them. As Jonathan and Mia approached the mansion, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, mingling with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. The mansion loomed before them, its tall fence almost intimidating, vines and weeds creeping up the wooden slats, as if nature was determined to reclaim what was once grand. Mia's heart raced, a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through her veins. She had heard whispers about this place, stories of ghosts and forgotten dreams that danced on the edges of her childhood imagination. "Are you sure we should be here?" Mia asked, her voice barely a whisper. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, glancing at Jonathan, who seemed undeterred by the mansion's eerie aura. Jonathan offered a reassuring smile, though he too felt a twinge of unease. "We have to know what's inside, Mia. This is part of your story," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. He took a deep breath, pushing open the creaking gate, the sound echoing through the stillness of the overgrown garden. As they stepped onto the property, Mia's imagination flooded with images of what the mansion might have been. She could almost hear the laughter of children playing in the garden, the clinking of fine china during elegant dinners, and the soft music wafting through open windows. But now, all that remained were shadows and dust. Inside, the air was thick with the musty scent of age, and the floorboards creaked beneath their feet, as they ventured further into the dimly lit hallway. Sunlight filtered through cracked windows, illuminating dust motes that danced lazily in the air. The walls were lined with faded portraits, the faces of long-gone residents watching their every move. Mia felt a chill run down her spine. "This place is something else," Mia murmured, her eyes wide as she scanned the room. The remnants of a once opulent life surrounded them. Old paintings draped in layers of dust, grand furniture covered with white sheets, and a chandelier hanging precariously from the ceiling. "Look at this," Jonathan said, pointing to a large painting of a family in elaborate clothing, their smiles frozen in time. They looked so happy. Mia stepped closer, tracing the outline of their faces with her finger. "They could be my family," she whispered, a hint of sadness lacing her words. "I wonder what happened to them." As they wandered deeper into the mansion, guided by the faint whispers of Mia's chalk drawings lingering in her mind, they stumbled upon a massive bookshelf. It loomed like a guardian of secrets, its wood polished and aged. Mia's heart raced. She felt a pull, an instinct urging her to investigate further. "Do you think there's something behind it?" she asked, glancing up at Jonathan, who was examining the shelf with renewed interest. "Let's find out," he said, a hint of excitement sparking in his eyes. Together, they pushed against the bookshelf, and to their surprise, it slid aside with a soft groan, revealing a narrow passageway. Mia's breath caught in her throat. "What if there's something scary in there?" Jonathan grinned, his adventurous spirit ignited. "Then we'll face it together, just like we've faced everything else so far." With a shared glance of determination, they stepped into the hidden room, their footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust. Inside, they found an old trunk resting against the far wall, covered in cobwebs but radiating a sense of history and importance. It was as if the trunk had been waiting for them all along, guarding the secrets of Mia's lineage. "Should we open it?" Mia asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "Absolutely," Jonathan replied, kneeling beside the trunk. He brushed away the cobwebs, revealing intricate carvings on its surface. With a gentle tug, he lifted the lid, and a cloud of dust erupted into the air, causing them both to cough. Inside, they discovered a collection of letters tied with a faded ribbon, along with various artifacts, each telling a story of wealth, loss, and resilience. Mia's fingers trembled as she picked up a letter, her heart pounding as she read the familiar script. "These are from my family," she breathed, her eyes widening with disbelief. They were wealthy, they lived here. Jonathan watched her, sensing the weight of her discovery. "What does it say, Mia?" As she read aloud, the truth of her family's past began to unfold. A tale of fortunes lost through betrayal and misfortune. Each letter revealed fragments of a life once filled with love and laughter, now reduced to dust and echoes. In that moment, amidst the forgotten treasures and faded memories, Mia found a piece of herself she never knew was missing. "Your history is beautiful," Jonathan said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, "and now you have a chance to reclaim it." Mia looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I never knew. I thought I was just a nobody. But this changes everything." Together, they sat on the floor of the hidden room, surrounded by remnants of a life long gone, the weight of their discovery settling around them like a warm embrace. In that moment, they knew their journey was just beginning. A path that intertwined their lives in ways they had yet to fully understand. As Mia and Jonathan sat cross-legged on the dusty wooden floor of the hidden room, the musty scent of aged paper filled the air. The trunk lay open before them, revealing a treasure trove of letters and artifacts that whispered secrets of the past. Mia's fingers trembled slightly as she picked up a faded letter, its edges frayed and yellowed with time. She could feel the weight of history pressing down on her, and her heart raced with anticipation. "Can you read it?" Jonathan asked gently, his voice barely above a whisper. He watched her intently, sensing the emotional storm brewing within her. Mia nodded, her eyes scanning the delicate handwriting, which danced across the page like a forgotten melody. "It's from my great-grandfather," she began, her voice quavering. "He talks about losing everything, says there was a betrayal, something to do with the money." She paused, glancing at Jonathan, who leaned in closer, captivated. "He mentions a partner, someone he trusted, who took advantage of them." Jonathan felt a pang of empathy for Mia, realizing that the story of her family mirrored the struggles of so many. Betrayal can cut deep, he offered, recalling his own family's expectations and the pressure to uphold their name. Sometimes the people we trust the most can hurt us the worst. Mia looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I always thought we were just poor. I never knew there was a whole world behind my family's downfall. She bit her lip, trying to suppress the swell of emotions threatening to spill over. The letters continued to reveal a tapestry of heartache, detailing financial ruin and the gradual decline of a once thriving lineage. As Mia read on, Jonathan's heart ached for her. You're not alone in this, Mia. It's heavy, but you have the strength to carry it. His words hung in the air, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Mia met his gaze, her expression shifting from despair to determination. I want to know more. I want to understand what happened, not just for me, but for my family. Her voice was stronger now, imbued with a newfound resolve. Jonathan nodded, feeling a surge of admiration for her spirit. Then let's do it together. We can piece together your family's history and reclaim what's lost. He reached out and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, feeling the warmth of their bond solidify in that moment. As they sifted through the letters, Mia's fingers brushed against a small, intricately carved wooden box hidden beneath the papers. Curiosity piqued. She lifted it and opened the lid. Inside lay a collection of delicate silver trinkets, each shimmering in the dim light. These must have belonged to my grandmother, she whispered, entranced. She used to wear a locket just like this. Jonathan's eyes widened in amazement. Mia, this is incredible. These artifacts could tell a story of their own. He could see the flicker of hope igniting within her, and it filled him with a sense of purpose. What if we showcased them somehow? We could share your family's legacy. Mia's face lit up at the idea. Do you really think people would care about my story? She asked, a mix of disbelief and hope in her voice. Absolutely, Jonathan affirmed, his conviction unwavering. Your story is powerful. It's about resilience, loss, and finding a way back to hope. People will connect with that. He paused, glancing around the room filled with remnants of the past. We just need to find a way to present it. As they left the mansion, the sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden hue over the city. Mia felt lighter, as if the burdens of her family's past were beginning to lift. Jonathan walked beside her, a sense of camaraderie blossoming between them. Mia, he said, breaking the comfortable silence, I want to help you reclaim your family's legacy. But I have to admit, I'm not sure how to navigate this world of high society art. His brow furrowed, the weight of his own uncertainties creeping back in. She looked up at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. You've already helped me more than anyone ever has, Jonathan. Together, we can figure it out. I believe in us. In that moment, they both understood that their connection transcended their different worlds. Together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by the shared goal of uncovering the truth of Mia's past and forging a new path forward. The day of the exhibition arrived, casting a vibrant energy across the gallery, a trendy space filled with sleek lines and modern art. The walls gleamed white, a stark contrast to the colorful chalk creations that adorned them. Jonathan had worked tirelessly to organize this event, determined to showcase Mia's talent to the art community. As the guests mingled, sipping on expensive wines and discussing the latest trends in the art world, Mia stood nervously near her artwork, her small frame almost lost amid the grandeur of the venue. Mia, you're going to be amazing, Jonathan said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. His eyes sparkled with encouragement. Just remember, these people are here to see your art. Mia bit her lip, glancing around the room. But they're so fancy, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the chatter. She felt like a fish out of water, her worn-out shoes contrasting sharply with the polished heels and designer suits that surrounded her. Jonathan knelt beside her, lowering his voice to a comforting tone. You belong here, Mia. Your art speaks volumes and it deserves to be seen. Just be yourself. He smiled, but Mia could see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes too. He was stepping into a world that often judged by appearances, and he knew it. As the evening unfolded, guests began to take notice of Mia's chalk drawings. The vibrant colors and intricate designs captivated some, while others simply glanced and moved on. Mia's heart raced with a mix of pride and apprehension. She had poured her soul into these pieces, each one a fragment of her history, yet the atmosphere felt suffocating to her. Then, amidst the polite applause and murmurs of appreciation, a well-dressed art critic approached. He examined one of Mia's drawings, a colorful depiction of a flower garden that seemed to bloom with life. Yet his expression shifted from curiosity to disdain. "How quaint," he remarked, a smirk playing on his lips. "Chalk art? It's like something a child would create. I wonder if this is supposed to be some sort of social commentary on poverty. Quite the cliché, don't you think?" Mia's heart sank. The critic's words pierced through her like ice. She had wanted to share her story, her family's legacy, yet here she was being reduced to a mere stereotype. She instinctively stepped back, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Jonathan, however, felt a surge of anger. "That's not fair," Jonathan exclaimed, his voice rising above the chatter. "Mia's art is not just chalk on pavement, it's a reflection of her life, her experiences. You don't understand the depth of what you're seeing." The critic raised an eyebrow, clearly unfazed by Jonathan's defense. "Art is meant to challenge, provoke, and elevate. This," he gestured dismissively, "it's merely child's play." Mia stood frozen, her hands trembling. She had always known that the world could be harsh, but hearing her passion belittled in such a way felt like a personal attack. Jonathan took a step closer, his expression fierce. "Art can take many forms. It doesn't have to fit into your narrow definitions. Mia's work is raw, honest, and filled with emotion. You should appreciate that." The tension in the gallery thickened, the laughter and chatter fading into an awkward silence. Guests began to whisper, their eyes darting from Jonathan to the critic, wondering how this confrontation would unfold. Mia felt small, trapped in a whirlwind of emotions, excitement, fear, and now humiliation. "Jonathan, please," Mia finally spoke, her voice trembling. "It's okay, let's just go." She turned her gaze to the ground, her heart aching. The weight of the moment crashed down on her. She had wanted to share her art, to reclaim her family's story, but now it felt like all her efforts were in vain. "No, it's not okay," Jonathan insisted, his frustration palpable. "You deserve to be heard, Mia. Don't let him take that away from you." The critic scoffed, crossing his arms. "Perhaps I'm wasting my time here." With that, he turned on his heel and strode away, leaving a palpable tension in his wake. Mia's eyes brimmed with tears. The warmth of Jonathan's defense felt overshadowed by the harshness of the critic's words. She took a step back, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. "I just wanted them to see me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But I don't belong here." Jonathan's heart ached for her. He could see the hurt etched on her face, the way the vibrant colors of her drawings now seemed muted in the harsh light of judgment. "You belong anywhere your art is celebrated," he said softly, trying to reach her through the pain. "You are so much more than what that critic thinks." But the damage was done. Mia felt as if the walls of the gallery were closing in around her, and she needed to escape. She turned and walked away, leaving Jonathan standing there, torn between wanting to chase after her and the realization that perhaps he hadn't fully understood the depths of her struggle. Mia dashed out of the gallery, her heart pounding in her chest, the laughter and chatter of the affluent crowd fading behind her. The chilly night air hit her face, but it couldn't cool the fire of humiliation that burned inside. She raced toward the nearby park, seeking refuge among the trees and shadows that seemed to understand her turmoil. The vibrant colors of her chalk art, once a source of joy, now felt like a mockery of her existence. "Wait, Mia," Jonathan called, his voice filled with urgency as he pushed through the gallery doors and sprinted after her. He had seen the way the critic's words had cut through her, sharp and cruel, like a knife to the heart. He regretted not defending her sooner, realizing too late that the world he navigated was foreign to her. When he finally reached her, Mia was crouched on the ground, her charcoal fingers smudged and stained, tears streaming down her cheeks. She had returned to her art, desperately trying to find solace in the familiar act of drawing. The chalk lay scattered around her, but the vibrant colors felt muted in the dim light of the park. "Mia," he said softly as he approached, kneeling beside her. He could see the pain etched across her face, the hurt of being dismissed in a world that had already made her feel small. "I'm so sorry. I should have done more to stand up for you." Mia shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "You don't understand, Jonathan. They see me as just a poor girl. No one cares about my drawings. They only care about their own wealth and status." Jonathan swallowed hard, realizing how deeply she felt the weight of their class divide. "You're so much more than that. Your art, it's filled with emotion, with life. It speaks truths that many people can't express. I see you, Mia, and I want others to see you too." "They don't want to see me," she replied, her voice trembling. "They only want to see what I can create for them, what can be sold, what can be turned into a profit. I thought this exhibition would change things, that it would matter." Jonathan reached out, gently placing his hand on her shoulder. "It matters to me. You matter to me. I've struggled with the expectations of my world too. I feel the pressure to fit into a mold that was created for me, but I don't want that for you. We can do this together." Mia looked up at him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But what if I fail? What if my art isn't enough? Then we'll figure it out together," he assured her, his voice steady. "Art isn't just about success or failure. It's about expression. Your drawings are your voice. They tell your story, and that story is powerful." In that moment, Mia felt a flicker of hope. She pulled out a piece of chalk and began to draw again, her strokes more deliberate this time, reflecting her inner turmoil. As Jonathan watched, he realized that her art was not just a pastime. It was a lifeline. "Mia, can I share something with you?" he asked, his tone softer now. "Sure," she replied, curious despite her lingering sadness. "I've always felt trapped by my family's expectations to succeed in the art world, to sell the right pieces and mingle with the right people. I thought wealth would bring happiness, but it often feels hollow. Seeing you creates a different perspective for me, one that I want to embrace." Mia paused her drawing, turning to him. "You're not just an art dealer. You're an artist too. You create connections through your choices. You can help people see what I see." "Yes," Jonathan nodded fervently. "We can create a community project that honors your family's legacy, that uses your art to bring joy and hope to others. This way, your drawings will mean something beyond just sales. They can inspire." A smile began to break through Mia's tears, illuminating her face. "You really mean that?" "Absolutely," he replied with sincerity. "Together, we can make a difference. Let's show the world the beauty in your art, in your story." As they sat together in the park, the moonlight casting a gentle glow around them, Mia felt a renewed sense of purpose. The bond they shared was stronger than societal expectations. It was rooted in understanding, compassion, and shared dreams. With Jonathan by her side, she felt ready to reclaim her narrative, to transform her pain into a powerful message of hope and resilience. In that moment, surrounded by the soft whispers of the night, Mia and Jonathan began to sketch their future together. A future where art transcended barriers, where their friendship could flourish into something beautiful, and where they could honor the past while creating a brighter tomorrow. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new stories that come out.